Hey guys, Julian here with Heat on the Feet, and today I'm going to be talking about the brand new Roger Pro by On Running. So when On first announced that they would be coming up with a tennis shoe of their own, I and many others were rightfully skeptical. After all, On had never come up with a tennis shoe before, they'd only done running, and the aspects of a shoe that are necessary for tennis specifics are so different to running, and I wasn't sure how they would adapt. However, after getting my hands on a pair of these shoes just a few weeks ago, I've definitely become convinced that On has rightfully earned its place as a tennis shoe brand. So yeah, having played with these shoes for the past couple days now, I'll talk a little bit about my personal experience with them and some of the pros and cons to possibly buying these shoes should they become available again in the future. So, first of all, if I could summarize these shoes in one sentence, it would probably be something like surprisingly light, soft, and comfortable for such a stable shoe. So usually when you have a shoe that has the kind of stability that the Roger Pro has, something with a big outgrowth like this one here, you think of something like an Adidas Barricade or something similar. They tend to be on the heavier side, more bulky, difficult to make quick steps, transition steps, move up to the net quickly. They're more for preventing rolling ankles and great for durability. However, I've felt that this shoe is really able to incorporate both in them. You've got that light, quick reaction that I think comes from the carbon fiber plate on the bottom, but you've also got that stability that comes from the outgrowth on the side. And I think that they've really been able to combine the two very, very well, especially for a first-time tennis shoe company. I would say that probably the best shoe still to compare these two is the Nike Zoom Vapor, just because these shoes were made for Roger Federer, and he has used the Nike Zoom Vapor for almost all of his career, so of course they were going to try to make these shoes at least in part similar to those so that he wouldn't feel too much of a difference, because these shoes were made primarily for him, as they've made very clear. I mean, it's called the Roger. So yeah, I think that they've been able to keep that light part of the Zoom Vapor, but they were also able to incorporate aspects that possibly it was missing. Maybe they thought that as Roger aged, it was more important to have a focus on less risk on rolling an ankle, more foot comfort. I definitely notice more cushioning, especially around the sides of the shoe, especially this side on each of them. Something which the Zoom Vapor didn't really have. I noticed that on the Zoom Vapor, the sides are almost, it's fabric with a little bit of cushioning. This one has substantial cushioning, especially towards the heel. It's really soft all around here, but then that completely cuts off when you get to the heel. It's definitely got a very solid heel. Like, there's no way you're ever going to be able to go through here. There's a very significant chunk of rubber, something also which the Zoom Vapor doesn't really have. So yeah, I think that that's something which On's really been able to perfect. It's the cushioning, how your foot feels in the shoe. It also really feels like after being in these shoes, at least even after 2 or 3 days, it feels like I've really molded to the bottom of the sole. It doesn't feel foreign to me. It didn't take me long at all to get used to these shoes. Almost, to be honest, after the first half an hour, they felt extremely comfortable, unlike other shoes which can take days, if not weeks, to break in. So there really is no break-in time with these shoes, just because of how soft they are as they come, and also this really thin mesh that runs all the way around the shoe. It's all very soft up here, other than at the bottom, so you don't need time to kind of wear that down a little bit, make it more your own, which is definitely another big positive with this shoe. I think that it's also due to this mesh that the breathability is so good. I've been playing in very humid, hot conditions for the last couple days, and I often notice that I tend to sweat through my shoes. My feet don't feel good after playing. I haven't felt that at all with these. I think it's just because of these holes they've put in throughout the shoes, possibly because these specific shoes were designed for when Roger was in Doha, very hot, humid conditions there, so that could possibly be why these shoes have held up so well in the heat, but I'm not too sure on that. They haven't talked too much about the design elements except the ones that I've spoken about earlier, so that could be a possible reason why they've held up so well in the heat. And then as to the bottom rubber on the shoes, I felt it's pretty similar to, I would compare it probably to an Asics Gel Resolution 8 in the way they move, because when you're sliding or you're coming out of corners quickly, you can't really slide, as you'll see in this video, as much as you can with other shoes where you really get a lot of distance. And that can be a good or a bad thing, because when you're coming out of corners, you don't really want to be spending a lot of time recovering after or you don't want to spend a lot of time kind of sliding into your shot, especially on a hard court. You want that quick reaction time when you're coming back. And I think that having these soles not be so at the mercy of the court and sliding as much, and being able to push off of that really big stable side has really helped me personally when I'm playing. Another thing about this shoe that I noticed, especially after I started playing points with serves, was quite how soft this toe joint is right here. So especially on the serve, it really allows you to, I wouldn't say get extra inches on your jump, but especially after you land on that left foot, being able to push back really quickly and reset yourself for the start of the point is important for every player. And I think that having such a light toe coverer, I'm not sure if that's exactly what it's called, but having such a light soft part here that's able to bend back so quickly after you get into the court definitely has helped me. And also this rubber here is substantial, so you don't really feel like you want to land flat-footed. You can really land close to the top, and there's no issue with that. I think that this quick release, I'll call it, toe is also really good for transitioning to the net, because when you're moving laterally, you don't really use the front of your toes as much, except maybe when you're doing a split step. But when you're moving into the court, you really do want to have that quick reaction, especially aided by the carbon fiber plate. You're able to really get into the net quickly. You never feel like you're kind of a step behind. You feel like you can kind of split step, set, and go. You don't have that kind of a half-second wait that I've had with some other shoes. I've just felt very comfortable moving up, and I think that's a combination of this soft mesh, but also with the very good cushioning, as I've talked about earlier, that the sole has. So yeah, as you can hear, I've been talking very positively about this shoe, honestly in part just because of how surprised I am that they were able to come up with such a legit shoe after not really having come up with any tennis shoe in the past. So I'd say probably my only worry will be durability. How will this shoe be able to stand up to hours of playing, to grinding out long sets, to grinding out long matches, something which they don't really care about when they're developing this shoe for Federer, because they can send him tons and tons and tons of shoes and he'll never have to worry about wearing through these shoes. Whereas a consumer like me, I don't want to be buying 10 pairs of shoes and having to get a new pair every 2 months. So now I haven't really seen any issues with that now, but I can see this thin mesh, especially right here, where players tend to drag their toe when they're sliding. Put this part down on the ground. I can definitely see this wearing through quickly, just because the rubber here is very, very thin, as you can see on screen. So that's kind of my one worry, just because I don't want to have to spend $180 every time I get a new pair of shoes, if I'm only going to get a month or 2 months of wear out of them. So yeah, overall, I'd say very positive review of these shoes as of now. I can't really say how they're going to hold up over the next weeks and months, and I've only been playing with them for about a week now, and I haven't really noticed any issues yet. So that's definitely a positive, but I can't promise that they're going to hold up for months on end. But I hope you've enjoyed this review of the Roger Pro for now, and stay tuned for the next episode of Heat on the Feet.